Well, first of all, hi guys.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
You're doing this with us. How are you doing right now? I mean, we're safer at home. We're locked in our apartments, our homes.
You know, honestly, I wouldn't be doing anything else otherwise, I don't think. But it's the fact that I don't have the choice to decline going out.
True. Yeah, it's like
That's driving me insane.
I have to ask about the obvious. Are you guys quarantined together?
So we actually decided it's myself, Maddie, Rudy, and Drew, and then one of our other friends, Elaine. We've all quarantined together. We made a giant fort in the living room. We've been kind of every night cooking meals together, so we're kind of making the best out of it.
We have to get into that finale.
Listen, food. Hey! Help! Help!
You guys survived this insane storm.
Surprise!
When you first read that was kind of gonna be how things played out, what was your reaction?
We kind of got the episodes in chunks. So we'd be shooting like episode 4, and all of a sudden we'd be at lunch and we'd get an email with the next episode, and we'd all run to somebody's trailer and sit down and just be, oh my God, it's happening. And so we kind of had no idea till later in the season, and then we watched it and we're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
it worked. It totally worked. So yeah, I mean, it's cool because obviously, you know, depending on what happens, it leaves the entire world of Outer Banks up to what could happen next, which I think is fun for not just us as actors to have an opportunity to kind of explore, you know, what could be. And obviously we know where we're going in Nassau, and we know where the gold is. So I think it's an exciting time to kind of give it to the world and say, like, what are John B and Sarah really going to get into now? Like, we thought it was dark and dirty just then, but it's gonna get real.
Yeah,
so
the stakes kind of keep getting higher and higher and higher, and the cliffhanger we leave it on leaves the door open for some really exciting stuff, I think.
Okay, so I have to ask you about those two guys in the boat. Are they to be trusted, the ones who sort of come to John V and Sarah's rescue?
Oh, are you talking about the boat,
Lawrence.
Captain Lawrence?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's,
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, that's something we don't know. So I think it'll be interesting to see where the relationship between John B and Sarah and Lawrence, Captain Lawrence, goes. Whether or not I think it's just a big question mark.
How mad is JJ's dad gonna be about his boat?
Not looking forward to that conversation, I'll tell you that much.
Kind of glad that I won't be there for that.
Yeah, we're out of town. We're just gonna send it straight to voice.
I feel really guilty. we
were just like, hey, did your dad have a boat?
Yeah.
He's like, sure, let me just take this chain off his
JJ's
neck.
a great friend.
He really is.
He is a good friend, which is why I'm wondering, your characters had the opportunity to call people and let them know that you're safe, and they chose not to. Why not let the friends know that?
Yeah, I think our first reaction is because we have no idea what's going on in the world back there and what we could potentially getting ourselves into. And then if we expose ourselves to this captain, all of a sudden there's a bounty on my head. So you have to remember that in any shape, way, or form, anybody who wants some sort of money is going to look at that and say, like, well, these 2 kids, they're kind of sweet, but a little bit extra cash sounds a little better than having 2 kids on my boat. So I think for us, it's more like we want to, I think, subconsciously, but the reality of the stakes and staying alive and staying innocent, you know, until John B finds a way to prove himself innocent in this entire thing, he's got to remain anonymous until we can get some sort of resolution.
Yeah, I think it's completely out of survival.
That fight or flight.
Yeah.
You killed my father, and you framed me for a murder I didn't commit. You took everything from me.
He does, over the boat radio, really put Sarah's dad, Ward, on blast. Do you think there's going to be consequences for Ward?
I think that's one of my big questions, is what's going to happen with the Camerons? Because the Camerons are now in a bit of a pickle. All of these little puppet strings that Ward has kind of been playing are now kind of coming loose, and he doesn't really have control over his world anymore. I feel like there definitely will be consequences for Ward or Rafe.
Yeah.
Maybe both. So that'll be really interesting to see how that plays out.
I think it's interesting too because he's so tied up in so many things.
Yeah.
So like this guy who has complete and total control over the island for God knows how long, all of a sudden is potentially, you know, John B sold his soul. Like he's now in this position to where you realize like he is actually responsible for all the chaos going on. So is he going to pull a Ward move and completely get himself out of this thing yet again and clear his name? Or is he going to do the the responsible, conscious thing and take responsibility for his actions and put his family in a better position.
Do you feel like Sarah's relationship with her dad and her brother are done? Like, do you think those ties are severed for good?
As far as her relationship with Ward, I don't think, personally, I would love for there to be some sort of confrontation. What I love about Sarah, especially in season 1, you really see her kind of come into her own and kind of find her voice and come out from under like the umbrella that is like what her dad has kind of created, like this world. And so I would love to have some sort of confrontation with Ward. Even though she has chosen John B, I do know that there's a part of Sarah that does still love him very deeply and still does want to protect him. But she's very much aware that he's not the person he's ever made himself out to be.
I would love to see them sit down and really get to the bottom of why he's doing what he's doing. Like, what was his motive in this entire reasoning besides being, you know, obviously greedy for the gold and what we've seen. But as a father, you know, I think there's always that fatherly instinct to want to protect your family. So,
and I think you do see that. Like, I do think you see his soft spots for, you know, for Sarah and, you know, obviously Rose and Wheezy. Rafe is a little, you know, there's a bit of a different dynamic there, but you see he cares. He provides, but the ways he goes about it are very sketchy.
Do you think that's something that should be, could be, will be explored in season 2? I mean, have the writers talked to you about the direction that they think the show could go in?
a little bit.
Yeah. We've had small conversations about ideas or, you know, maybe like potential, you know, directions for storylines. And I think obviously the Cameron dynamic is a big one, because I think that's a big question mark at the end of season 2. Like, what's going to happen with this family that, like, this family that was once very much the Golden family, and now it's just unraveled completely. I think that's definitely something that's going to be explored. I think Rafe, my brother, like, what's going to happen with him and Ward? How are they going to potentially cover up a murder? Is a big one. And I think with, you know, with the potential maybe return of Sarah to the Outer Banks at some point, how is that going to be addressed?
Yeah, I think the big question is that, you know, like, obviously we have these 2 kids who have completely uprooted their lives in a place where they would have never imagined this type of stuff to happen. So are they going to come back? You know, am I still a convicted felon? Am I a convicted murderer? I mean, it's beyond the murder at this point. It's, I stole a police car, you know, I assaulted people, I've evaded arrest, I've done so many things. Yeah, and now she's an accomplice. One charge is one thing, but we're looking at, you know, a vast majority of different things that have happened over the span of this, you know, of this first season. So, you know, we have the Cameron storyline that obviously we need to get to the bottom of. And is it, I mean, I can't run forever. I mean, as we know, in today's day and age, you can get away from the police for a minute, but after a while, I mean, they're quick. We got some crazy technology in today's day and age. So
that was my next question, is do you think John B is going to have to be held accountable for his actions, even though they were done because he was being wrongly accused of something? I feel like there's 2 kind of sides of the coin there.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting way of looking at it. It's one of those things to where, like, you see one thing go wrong and then everything from there starts to, it's domino effect. So are you responsible for your actions if your actions align with something that happened based on something that you didn't do? But I think in the court of law, you know, there's a different set of rules and there's a different way of going about it. So I'm interested to see what our writers put together. I mean, I'm excited to get back to that headspace after we're all safe and sound through this, you know, crisis right now, to be able to get some content in our hands and look at it and just be like,
really dive into it. And what is TV without a little drama?
I swear to God, Ward, I will come back one day and take what's mine. I'm coming for you.
I do also have to ask you about the threat that he made toward, John B made toward, saying, like, I am going to come back for you. Like, I will get what's mine. Like, those are some, like, fighting words.
Those are fighting words.
Right?
I mean, I think first and foremost, John B's got to work on his fighting skills a little bit, because obviously, you know, early in the sync, John B is one of those kids who he sticks to his word, like throughout the entire season. Like, this kid does everything he says he's going to do, whether it's figuring out where his father is, figuring out the gold. I mean, everything that he does, he's 100% committed. So I'm excited to explore that side of the character where, you know, he's out for one thing and one thing only. and it's revenge, and it's, you know, to put his father's name, put some respect on it. And I think that's an incredible thing to put a young guy through. You know, he's already gone through hell and back. So how much deeper down Dante's Inferno are you going to send this kid before he can finally reach, you know, some sort of sanity?
How do you think everything is going to affect John B and Sarah's relationship if there's a season 2? I feel like they've been through so much.
Yeah.
You like get stronger or you break up.
I think that's a big question mark too, because I mean, when you look at the timeline, they've only really been together for a week.
Yeah.
Like it hasn't really been that long.
But it's love, right?
Yeah, it's love. It's
Love is love.
star-crossed lovers. But I think I don't know. Well, really insecure now. But I think it'll be interesting because you have this fun, like, you know, obviously we're headed to the Bahamas now. So you have these two kids who are obviously madly in love with each other, and they're headed to the Bahamas. So it feels like there's this great opportunity to show like the honeymoon phase of this relationship where they're, you know, they've run away from home and they're in this vacation destination and everything seems fine, and then all of a sudden just like the drama just hits, like they get, everything catches up to them.
Yeah.
So I think they're definitely going to go through some challenges.
I think on the contrary of that too, it's like you have that potential reality, and then you have the reality of like it could be Survivor Man. You know, the Bahamas in some places is very developed, and then in other places you're kind of like, is there anyone here? Anybody got a coconut? So it could be, you know, either or. And I think the obvious reality of it is like you're going to have some sort of both in the world, and to find that balance between trust too. I mean, at the end of the day, like we are now officially on the run. The love has got to be there, the trust has got to be there, and is this relationship going to survive all of these things? Have we established? Yeah,
you're the Wilson to my Tom Hanks. You're my Wilson.
Wait, I'm Wilson?
I can be Wilson.
I'm fine being a volleyball. I mean, it's okay, but whatever.
We'll
figure it out. We'll get back to you on who's going to be Wilson, who's going to be.
Were you guys supposed to film in the Bahamas?
We're not sure yet. Obviously, last hurricane season was very, very devastating. So I think in order to not exploit, you know, anyone's home, any countries, like we want to be obviously very cautious about how we go about it.
And hopefully we can help some local economies in the Caribbean build back what they've lost over the past couple of years and fight things together.
Are you guys ready for people to ship you two together? Because we know with Netflix YA shows that tends to happen.
I don't know. I mean, I think the thing is with this quarantine going on right now, like it's so hard to actually grasp reality.
We can't stand each other.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
So I think it's one of those things where, you know, like the DMs have started and people have started to kind of reach out, and we're seeing a little bit of things happening online, but
it's super exciting.
It's really cool, you know, to obviously see people attached to something. Maddie and I talk about this a lot, of an honest, authentic take on what it should be like to be in a young relationship.
We definitely wanted to highlight that, like the, you know, what a healthy two-way relationship looks like, especially for, you know, for a younger audience. I mean, for anyone really, but just in particular for me, like I really wanted like young girls and young boys to see what it looks like when there is consent, and it is like, you know, like fully consensual. Your mind's in it, your heart's in it, and that was something that we talked about early on, just making sure that was very clear. I ship it.
Yeah.
And then 3 things that you really want to see happen in season 2.
I want to see some action, some more action. I really want Sarah to get in on it. I kind of want her to become a baddie. I want to see some sort of confrontation with the Camerons. I don't want to see them butt heads because I feel like we didn't really get that in season 1.
I want to see the Pogues reunite. I want to see John B figure out a way to clear his name completely. And I want to see how and where JB and Sarah go. And is this something that is sustainable, or is this something that they're both in over their heads? And the fact that neither of us know right now, and Jonas, Josh, and Shannon are like, we know, is painstaking because we're sitting in quarantine. So hopefully we'll find out soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those are all.
Your answers are way better than mine.
What are you talking about? You
I liked all the answers. Yeah, yours were good too. Come
you
on.
were spot on.
Yeah.
No.
They were good. They were great.